Most AI visibility platforms are not measuring what you think they are. And that's a problem, because companies are starting to make real decisions based on those dashboards. But here's the catch. A clean-looking report can tell you you're visible, while you're actually losing every decision that matters. Hey, I'm Mark Huntley, founder and CEO of LLM Authority Index. At LLM Authority Index, we analyze how AI systems actually recommend companies in real buying scenarios, not just whether they show up. And what we're seeing is simple. A lot of teams are buying AI visibility tools without understanding what those tools are measuring. Most platforms measure appearance. What actually matters is recommendation. And those are not the same thing. Now, there are two big misconceptions driving bad decisions here. First, if we show up often, we're winning. Not necessarily. You can appear in a lot of prompts and still not be the brand AI recommends when someone is actually deciding. That's the difference between being mentioned and being chosen. Second, more prompts means better data. Also not true. If those prompts are low intent, broad, informational, or generic, they inflate visibility but tell you very little about real buying behavior. If you don't separate low intent prompts from high intent decision prompts, you're basically measuring noise. So instead of asking, are we visible? The better question is, are we being chosen when decisions are made? Now, let's break down what actually matters when you evaluate these platforms. First, what is being measured? A mention is just an appearance. A recommendation is a position. For example, if someone asks, best CRM for small business, and your brand shows up fourth with no explanation, that's visibility, but it's not influence. You also need to look at how you're framed. Are you presented as the best option or just an alternative? Because AI doesn't just list brands, it interprets them. And then there's competitor positioning. If your competitors consistently appear above you in high intent prompts, you're losing, even if your overall visibility looks strong. So the key point here is simple. If a platform can't distinguish between mentions and recommendations, it's not measuring performance. It's measuring exposure. Second, prompt quality. Every insight in these tools comes from the prompts behind them, and not all prompts are equal. A small set of high intent prompts like best tools, X versus Y, alternatives to X, is far more valuable than thousands of generic ones, because that's where real decisions happen. You also need segmentation. If prompts aren't broken down by use case, category, and buying stage, you can't see where you're actually winning or losing. And then there's data depth. Some tools look very data-driven, but the underlying sample is thin. So the real question is this decision-grade data or just directional noise? Third, citation architecture. This is where most platforms fall short. AI doesn't just generate answers, it builds them from sources. So you need to understand which sites are being cited, which sources are reinforcing your competitors, and whether your brand is backed by credible references or just appearing without support. Because here's what happens. You might show up often, but if your competitors are consistently backed by stronger sources, they'll be recommended more confidently. At LLM Authority Index, this is something we see all the time. Brands that look visible but don't control the sources shaping the outcome. So the takeaway here is visibility without citation support is fragile. Authority comes from the sources behind the answer. The AI visibility category is real, but it's still early. A lot of platforms are optimized for dashboards and surface-level metrics, not decision-making. And that creates a gap because companies are starting to rely on these tools for strategy, but the measurement often isn't deep enough to support those decisions. So you end up with something risky, confidence without clarity. So if you take one thing from this, the question is not whether AI mentions your brand. The question is whether AI recommends you when the buyer is ready to decide. That's the shift. From visibility to selection, from exposure to influence, from dashboard to decisions. I'm curious, if you're evaluating AI visibility tools right now, do you know if they're measuring mentions or actual recommendations? Or is that still unclear? If you want the full breakdown, check the article below. And if you want to understand how AI is actually positioning your brand in real decision stage prompts, where competitors outrank you and why, that's exactly what we analyze at LLM Authority Index. Thanks for watching.